Hey there, Tesai here. For the last year and a half I had a crazy idea in my head. Would it be possible to get from wave 1 to wave 30 in Madness Combat Project Nexus arena in just one life? And before someone asks, we are talking about the classic Madness Combat Project Nexus. The one that runs in the browser and is quite outdated by today's standards when it comes to performance. You might be asking why wave 30, and wave 30 is what ultimately unlocks the zombie mode, and thus has been always viewed by me as a great threshold to aim for, like it's one of the goals to reach in the game. And I finally gave it a shot today. As expected, the hardest part of the challenge really is the beginning. This is because even though the NPCs are at the weakest possible points, they are all grunts without any weapons or skills, our character is also just a normal grunt without any weapons or skills. Near the end of the first wave is where the first grunts armed with melee weapons like pipes, hammers, sledgehammers, daggers, switchblades and so on come out and chase us. But we don't have any weapons. So this is basically the first great challenge, because so far we could aim to slowly wither down the enemies by repeating strikes, but now the NPCs can actually block our attacks, and each of their hits basically instantly drains about 1/3 of our HP. This essentially means that single mistake could end the run, and it did. It did once. The trick is to save all the bullet time for this point. Use it on the first enemy with weapon and quickly spam it with as many attacks as possible, while also utilizing the double tap forward attack, which lets our character sort of jab quickly at the enemy as well, preventing him from blocking our attack. This works most of the time, but still isn't guaranteed. Ideally we need to knock down the ground to the ground so it drops the weapon and we can pick it up, but that didn't work out for me, and the 3 grunts joined into a single group, which is pretty tough to take care of, and I had to narrowly dance around them until one of them dropped down. Then it's kinda straightforward, because I can just quickly pick the weapon, run around and use the throw attack to dispatch all the other enemies. Attacking with the weapon directly is possible as well, but at this stage even the grunts will easily block us, and they can sneak a hit or two, which will basically be death sentence at this point. But anyway, I finally managed to get to round 2. And I think this is the spot where I just explained the rules, because there are essentially 3 rules to this run. The first rule is that I must start on a fresh save with new character. Second is I can only upgrade my skill, gear and weapon whenever I reach new high wave. Meaning that if I get to wave 15, my character dies and I have to restart from wave 1, I cannot upgrade my gear, weapon or skill in between rounds 1 and 15. Only at the round 16 I get to finally allocate my skills and buy new gear, and I can still get an existing gear from the storage in between though, because it means I got it previously from the battlefield, or I bought it the legit way by progressing the game prior to the round 15. Essentially I cannot buy anything until I reach the new highest wave. And lastly, the third rule is that I cannot use Squadmates, because this would make it really easy. And our goal, of course, as I said, is to unlock the zombie mode by reaching wave 30. Anyway, I quickly poured all my skill points into strength and unarmed just in case we die and have to do the initial few rounds again. And then I went and bought PPK, because it's just about the only gun I can afford and we will need it bad. Because near the midpoint of wave 2 is where the first grunts armed with pistols come out. And during my testing, this has been the bane of my existence. It is possible to simply stunlock one of them and quickly grab the pistol, but it's highly luck based, as he needs to be alone or others have to miss their shots, which usually doesn't happen, and our character can only survive about 2 or 3 hits. Luckily for me, I executed it almost perfectly and we got to wave 3. From there the game gets progressively easier, as we can just snowball and upgrade our guns, skills and armor. We are still fragile without the proper attack bar, though, so I decided to play it safe and I utilized the barrels for cover, which I normally never do. And I picked random Browning HP as an upgrade over the weak PPK. From there, pushing forward through wave after wave was just a no-brainer. I kept upgrading pistols, and then I died at round 4 to being overwhelmed with grunts and an agent. Luckily, I managed to stash one USP, dagger and Browning so far, so it won't be a slow start again. With this gear, it became much easier to push for wave 3, where I mistakenly bought a new weapon thinking it's been wave 4 already. So I went out to check the wave and threw the weapon on the ground for it to disappear and be discarded properly. But from now on, I just quickly dispatched the wave 4 and upgraded our defense with some much needed armor. And we are starting to see more and more agents and some engineers as well now. I also picked SMG as soon as I could afford one, because the magazine capacity is basically what matters the most in this game. And from there it's just the same story, breezing through waves, upgrading pistols, SMGs and armor skills, getting better armor and being done with the next wave. Quickly the MP7 became my weapon of choice for quite some time, as it's superior SMG in this game with decent damage and high ammo capacity. At round 12 I picked G36, our very first assault rifle, and I also had to face our first golem. These enemies need to have their face mask knocked out first, and to do that a melee weapon is required to hit them in quick succession directly into the face mask. My favorite approach is to run into them and stagger them with double tap attack, and then quickly spam as many melee attacks on the mask as possible, while continuing spamming the double tap attack as often as possible to unlocking the golem. The timing is hard to get right initially, but eventually I get it right and dispatch the golem easily with my G36. In the shop I saw AUG with 40 rounds max, so I bought it, but it only has one spare magazine. This is not good because we are only bringing 80 rounds into the fight with the AUG, while G36 has 90 in total. But the AUG is more accurate and kicks harder, so I will keep it around for a while. And it turned to be the correct choice, as the AUG makes the few next rounds easy. I also replaced the G36 with HK M416, and I also tried the Fall, which kicks like a horse but has really low ammo capacity, and I fear it might get us killed once we get overwhelmed by soldiers and engineers. So I quickly replaced it with TAR-21, which is one of my most favorite weapons. From this point onward I am more focused on getting more armor rather than firepower, as most weapons are just minor tweaks rather than big upgrades, and we are already facing soldiers. My strategy is to stay away from the left or right side of the arena and only keep cleaning one side, while making sure no enemies get to the cover behind the barrel. Soldiers and engineers are especially pain in the ass to deal with if they get into the cover, because they do have a massive tag bar and are hard to hit by default. The game lets you usually win even if the last enemy is taking cover, so I'm taking no risk until I get the proper tag bar and some decent armor as well. Eventually I get geared in the best armor in the game, which is the robot and golem scraps armor, with some other decent accessories as well. I cannot really raise my defense much higher, so now it's time to save up some money for the machine gun. Also the enemies start to shoot aimed shots at us at around 20, and it only gets more annoying as the time progresses, because we simply can't kill them in the short window they are taking the aim, and we must dodge instead. For that reason I am also upgrading dexterity, and it's for round 23 where I finally get my hands on M249 machine gun. I am keeping it as a backup weapon for when the shits hit the fan, while having the TAR as my main weapon for now. But in future we will be maining the machine gun. At round 24 we encounter not one but two golems at once. I quickly get rid of them and we are off to round 25, where sadly I lost my M249 machine gun. I got hit by an aimed shot and it got lost somewhere in the junk on the ground. I didn't want to waste much time and get a chance for the random grunt or agent to kill me, so instead I quickly dispatched all of them, tried to search for it, but it was nowhere to be found. We can buy a new one. It's not that bad yet. If this happened in the later rounds, this would be a disaster. Each round is now progressively filled with more and more engineers, so the correct strategy is to line them up and then just empty half of the magazine in their general direction. This drains their tag bar and I can just one-tap them without the tag bar easily. This will be our main strategy from this point onward, and we need a lot of bullets for doing so. At round 28 we are getting more and more soldiers into the mix with engineers as well, but luckily we managed to get another machine gun, so we are basically safe, because we can just aim in their general direction, spray, and we dispatch the crowd. Round 29 starts being even denser, and it requires us to use bullet time in order to hit as many enemies to deplete their attack bar more efficiently. For round 30 I am buying a second machine gun, and we are basically walking armory at this point with 800 bullets at our disposal. It gets dense, but I keep spraying the hordes of enemies with bullets until the end of the wave, which means we managed to clear all 30 rounds in one life. Well, sort of. I will revisit this challenge in the future with the goal of actually doing it in proper one life, I think. That being said, there is the final build with abilities, armor and weapons. If you would like to try this challenge for yourself, I can highly recommend doing so, but set aside at least 2 or maybe 3 hours as it takes a really long time. But hey, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'm gonna catch you next time. Bye.